Reuters are saying that the legal opinion is this: the legal risk remains unchanged, that the United Kingdom would have no internationally lawful means of exiting the protocol's arrangements, save by agreement in case of differences. Let me see if I can just enlarge on what that's saying. I think more is going to come through on this, but Tamara, if at first blush that looks like the legal opinion is unchanged, that's a significant blow for Downing Street.
Yes, we've just got it through literally in the last few seconds, so we will have to have a closer look at it over the next few minutes. But certainly a huge amount is riding on the Attorney General's legal advice. He told MPs back in December that his opinion on the Prime Minister's withdrawal deal is that Britain could remain trapped in the backstop indefinitely. Therefore, MPs, Tory Brexiteers and the DUP were very keen to see that the Attorney General's legal advice, because he's a figure that they trust, he's a Brexiteer, he's got a legal reputation to uphold. They were looking to see that he would say what the Prime Minister said in Strasbourg last night, which is that she believes the guarantees, the assurances that she secured...
Sorry to interrupt. Tamara, I just want to interrupt you because you can't see what I can see, and the legal advice is coming through in dribs and drabs, and this may be slightly contradictory to the initial suggestion that the legal advice was unchanged. This is all coming from, at least what I'm looking at, it's coming from the Reuters news agency, who are further saying the joint instrument is legally binding, so that may be encouraging for Downing Street. The Attorney General's legal advice on the backstop says the joint instrument has binding legal effects as a document. Going on to say, there is no doubt, in my view, that the clarifications provide a substantive and binding reinforcement of the legal rights available to the UK. This is all just being shared as they go through the legal opinion. Tamara, what should we make of this at this stage?
I think what Brexiteers and the DUP will be looking for from this legal advice, they know that what the Prime Minister got last night falls short of a time limit on the backstop or an exit mechanism that only the UK can trigger. What is in those assurances that Theresa May was pushing last night is the idea that the UK can say, if they feel the EU is keeping the UK in the backstop indefinitely, they can go to an arbitration panel which will make the final decision to end the backstop. They want to see that Geoffrey Cox thinks that that is a way out of it, that it isn't just reducing the risk, but it is actually eliminating altogether the idea that Britain could be trapped in the backstop eternally. I was just speaking to the DUP's Brexit spokesman, Sammy Wilson, because the feeling is that if the DUP think this is enough, then Brexiteers will fall into line as well. He was saying, first of all, that what MPs are voting for tonight, the motion tonight, says that it only reduces the risks of the backstop. He said that is not a ringing endorsement. And he also said that the idea put forward by Jean-Claude Juncker yesterday that this is the last chance saloon, MPs get to vote on it tonight and then that is it. He said that won't sway their opinion in any way. They feel that if there is going to be an extension, there is more time for negotiating. So that is not very encouraging for Theresa May. And the numbers are really stacked against her. Even if she did manage to get all of the 10 DUPs and all of the Brexiteers in her party on side, which at this stage looks very daunting a task indeed, she will still need some Labour votes to take this over the line because, of course, she doesn't have a majority, and we're expecting that the small number of Tories who are supporting a second referendum, who are still in the party, will vote against it tonight, plus a few others. So it really is a difficult task. The Attorney General is going to the Commons to take questions on this afternoon about his legal advice, and I think that MPs will be grilling him on just those aspects that you mentioned. What then happens is that the hardline Brexiteers in the European Research Group will be meeting this afternoon after they have got some of their MPs who are lawyers to look over it with a fine-tooth comb and decide whether they can support it. I think the feeling in Parliament is that it will be very difficult for Theresa May to pull off a victory tonight, but if she pulls off a much smaller defeat, gets that 230 vote defeat down to say 20, 30, 40, then perhaps her deal is on life support but still in contention for perhaps possibly a third go. We are expecting Theresa May to leave imminently from number 10. Cabinet has now just finished to go to the Commons to take questions from MPs. She will be meeting Tory MPs and I'm sure they will be asking her about this legal advice and what really has changed.
Sure, they will. Tomorrow, this is a synopsis of the legal advice, and we're passing it pretty much as it comes through. We draw attention to these two items, 17 and 19. 17 saying, and this is Geoffrey Cox's legal judgment, I now consider that the legally binding provisions of the joint instrument and the content of the unilateral declaration reduce the risk that the United Kingdom could be indefinitely and involuntarily detained within the protocol's provisions, at least insofar as that situation had been brought about by the bad faith or want of best endeavours of the EU. This is legalese, as you'd expect. Point 19, perhaps a little contradictory. The legal risk remains unchanged, however, that if through no such demonstrable failure of either party, but simply because of intractable differences, that situation does arise, the United Kingdom would have, at least while the fundamental circumstances remained the same, no internationally lawful means of exiting the protocol's arrangements, save by agreement. Tomorrow, it may be, in looking through this document, the DUP and others can find and cherry-pick items that they say may support their position, that there is a legal avenue out of the backstop, but at first blush, it's not as promising as it might have been for them.
Just looking at that, Colin, he uses the words reduces the risk. That is exactly the words that are on this motion that MPs are voting on tonight. That is changed from December, but really Brexiteers and the DUP want to see the risk of staying in the backstop eliminated. They believe that they have given in on a time limit. The EU said they wouldn't put an end date on the backstop. They have given in on the fact that the withdrawal agreement agreed by the 27 countries is not being reopened. They're just bolting on a bit at the end. Reducing the risk, I think many of them will see it as really not good enough for them to vote for. It not only falls short of what they wanted, but it doesn't really give them a guarantee that the backstop, which is of course the arrangement with which the whole of the United Kingdom stayed in the customs union with the EU until some other way is found to keep the border open, I think that falls short of what many had hoped for. And the lawyers at the moment, Tory Brexiteer and DUP lawyers who are looking over it at the moment, going through it with a fine-tooth comb, were waiting to see if the Attorney-General would come out with something a bit stronger than that. As Sammy Wilson, the DUP's Brexit spokesman, was telling me just a few minutes ago, reducing the risk is not exactly a ringing endorsement. So it's going to be a difficult day for the Prime Minister trying to convince them that Geoffrey Cox, who is a figure who's very respected, people know that he has a legal reputation to uphold, that is good enough. It was already a daunting task to try and get this deal through Parliament without a majority and with virtually no Labour support. I was just speaking to a source in the Labour Party in the Whip's office who was saying they're not expecting huge numbers of Labour MPs to back this. So that is not, I think, the ringing endorsement they will need to get this deal over the line, it would appear at the moment.